I'm going to start off with the bass drum, the kick. And the bass drum is, of course, very, very important in house music. It is what drives a track. It is what brings the impact to a dance floor. And so it's pretty important to spend a little time finding a good one and maybe shaping it, sculpting it into the perfect kick for your track. Because it's so important, in fact, that the bass drum you choose, the kick you choose, determines the sound of the track. That may sound a little exaggerated, but in reality, it is the foundation of the track. If you make sure that the bass drum is the right one for the track, you're halfway there. So I'm going to find a bass drum in the library of Logic Pro. And of course, the library is right here. And here's all the sounds that Logic has on offer for me. Now, I could go into drum kit, but these are all acoustic drum kits. So, of course, I need the one below that, electronic drum kit. And I'm going to use the drum machine designer. I can choose from all these presets here, and they get loaded once I click them. And if I open up drum machine designer, you can see all the available sounds. And the kick is right here on this pad. It's on C1. And as soon as I click that, the library switches to all the available kicks in the Logic Pro library. And this is not the type of kick that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to go through these presets here. And once I click them, they get loaded into the pad. I can also use my up and down keys for that on my keyboard. I like this Futura one. It needs a little love and shaping, but I'm going to do that in a minute. Just going to create an empty region here. I'm not going to record this in. Just hold down my command key to get the pencil, and I can draw in a pattern really fast. Cycle around it. Yeah, this is going to take a little work. Change the tempo here to 125. It's nicely somewhere in the middle. And when I go to my mixer, I can see that Drum Machine Designer is actually a little more than just a plugin with drum sounds in it. It's actually a summing stack, and I can open that using the triangle here in the lower left corner of the channel strip. Once I open that, you'll see that it's a lot more than just a couple drum sounds. It's actually an Ultra Beat plugin. And I'm just going to make that a little smaller. And all these channel strips behind it are actually outputs from Ultra Beat, as you can see. And there's a lot of them, right? And they all have these plugins on them. I'm going to just take out the plugins from the main channel and see what it sounds like now. I don't think there's a lot of difference, is there? Well, anyway, these plugins on the channel itself, you can also access them using the smart controls on the plugin. So if, for instance, I want to have a little less attack to the kick, and these refer back to the plugins on the channel. Okay, so if I, for instance, that envelope parameter right here, you can see it moving on the plugin itself, right? Maybe I want to take out a little bit of the attack and maybe add a little sustain. So there we go. The same for the distortion. That's obviously the overdrive plugin on the channel. It's a very nice plugin. I think I'll actually use this this drive here. Oh, definitely. And the EQ, I'm also going to work on that a tiny bit. The low cut is a bit, you know, I'm going to take out the low cut entirely. That's a lot better. And maybe I want to high cut it too, just a bit. A little less steep curve. so that I can now boost the high end into the high cut. Sounds a bit weird perhaps, but see, if I don't have the high cut activated, the high shelving might be a bit too much. I can now boost the high shelf, but it runs into the, let's say, the brick wall of the high cut. See, that's a bit too much. So that's a little better. I'm going to add a compressor to this. One of my favorite compressors is the FabFilter Pro C still. Just to control the dynamics a little better. There we go. So next thing I'm going to do is add a little compression to the master output. Maybe I'm just going to use Logic's own compressor. And the one I like these days is the vintage VCA. It looks like an SSL compressor, and to be honest, they've managed to get the snap right from the original SSL compressor, and I like that on the master. You can see 3-4 dBs of gain reduction right there. So that's okay, and then probably wise to also add a limiter at the end. Just a standard Logic limiter, just to prevent any overloading. And on the master out, you actually want to cut around 30 Hertz. Going to also cut out a bit of the high frequencies. So there we go. That's our master channel. That's our kick drum. I'm going to loop that. Make it 4 bars long. Now let's go to the next video and add some grit, add some 909 love.